No, I saw you guys
traveling
were
in
talking about 'em.
RVs.
I
love
had.
UFOs,
I don't know if
dude.
you know. I had a ridiculous experience to where like they are real, 100%.
I think they're 100% real.
Dude, and when I'll tell you the story. It's pretty short, but like I was doing I was at Levity Live in West Nyack, New York, like a comedy venue, and was doing a show there, and it was in the Palisades Center, so it's a big mall, and it was the fans, and they were coming in, and they ran it late because I wanted to talk to everyone. I was like, oh, let me talk to everyone, and it got to be 3 a.m. Everybody cleared out, so like you're able to walk around the mall, and nobody's in there.
Yeah.
And it was like kind of surreal. It's kind of weird. It was me and a couple other friends, and we had merch boxes. We had just finished cleaning up. All the fans cleared out. We make it out to the parking lot. It's just my car in the distance. We have like a decent, like few hundred feet walk, and we're walking, and something catches my eye, and I'm like, what the f- is that? My brain all of a sudden kind of like broke because what caught my eye was this technicolored mist. Like, if you ever seen like Northern Lights, but imagine like a concentrated version of that. So like the colors were really intense, and it was like pink, neon blue, greens, yellows, and I see that cloud, and then all of a sudden I see the disc, literally the stereotypical saucer, emerge from that cloud, and clearly seems to be emitting whatever I don't know if it's energy or
Skittles,
fuel,
dude.
Skittles, literally, and it starts doing 90-degree turns. Because at first I'm like, what is that? And then my brain checks off all the boxes, drone, that. It's a fucking UFO. Because then it started to do the 90-degree turns so intensely that I'm like, that defied not only my brain, but the laws of physics.
Yeah.
And I told my friends, I'm like, yo, like I couldn't even muster words because I was so in shock. And they looked, and then within a few seconds, the thing just burst into that technicolored mist, and then the mist itself dissipated within a couple seconds. It was a weird vibe of almost like it knew
It was being watched.
it saw us, or we saw it. And then the kicker was my camera as a YouTuber was like in the back seat of my car, like 50 feet away at that point. And I was like, damn, that would have been the most compelling shot ever.
Yeah, that's the problem is every piece of footage that exists with UFOs is garbage, and anything that looks real is fake.
Right,
It
right.
would
So
have
it's-
been blurry.
Oh, especially if I shot it. I'm like, Faye, oh, that's not.
Yeah,
I'm like,
100%.
dude.
Psycho UFO.
Yeah, like what the
Psycho alien.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I love the alien stuff, dude. I'm fascinated with it.
It broke my brain to where I was in shock for a while, and then it was maybe 3 years later, that it started to haunt me again.
Oh, wow.
And I started to think like nothing else matters because this exists. That there's something more going on here. And then suddenly I started to feel excited again because there was some depth to this world, and not just like you said, the views and the money and that. What do we do with our life? Suddenly, there was magic out there, and I got excited. And so then, me and my girlfriend, we went to a bunch of locations, tried to track stuff down. We went back to West Nyack.
That's right, you were doing all that.
And unfortunately, it was a really half-assed attempt. But I do plan on going back to West Nyack because it turns out that area, which is known as the Hudson Valley, hotspot. And I had no idea. And I do think in order for somebody to capture it, it would be somebody like us who has time, who has the money to get the best cameras or drones that can shoot slow-mo, who also is like crazy enough to commit to something like that. But everyone else, nobody's looking up anymore. Everyone's looking down.
Yeah.
And people just, I think, write it off. They don't believe. But after that experience, I'm like, holy shit, like this is real and nothing else matters.
I love that,
now.
dude, because I have had real experience. 100%, no denying something weird was out there.
And yeah, there's a part of me that tries to repress it, not in a sense of like it didn't happen, but in a I have to, because if I think about it for too long, it me up. Like it's just it's disturbing. And my theory is that it like why Elon, and as you're talking about this last pod of he's space. These guys are not space aliens. They are underwater aliens. They are an evolved form of like a squid or an octopus that if you look at their heads, look at how they're shaped, it looks like the stereotypical aliens that we see. And what happened was they were deep, deep underwater. A lot of evolution took place. They then came up into a cavern. Their tentacles started to evolve into legs and arms. They also had access to rich resources and materials down at the bottom of the seafloor. Also very high pressure. So they're able to withstand super fast light speed travel. They have the resources, and all they wanted to do was let's just see what's outside of the water, like how we wanted to with space. And they made a craft, came up, and were like, holy shit, like Planet of the Apes moment. There's all these land dwellers here. Let's come back down, but they never go up too high. They always, where I saw it and where most people have the sightings is they're never going up into space. They're just staying below the surface, so they're never obstructing a lot of flight patterns and paths, and they see that now. And that's what's trippy is that, like, I don't think they're actually that much more intelligent than us. I just think they had access to different resources, can deal with pressure differently. There's a lot we can learn from them, but they're not like...
You think there's like underwater factories? They're building
I think there's
ships?
full cave systems, full cave tunnels, all hollowed out deep enough, and that's where they got the ships.
And what is it that gives you this impression?
Just logic.
Logic.
Yeah, because space doesn't make sense to me. We have no evidence that supports that they've come from any other planet. We have not seen that. We have no real sightings of a UFO in space.
Right.
I think it's all BS. I think they're on our planet under the water.
I've heard a lot of the underwater theories.
It's a common theory.
I've watched some YouTube videos about it.
This is creeping me out.
I love them rabbit holes.
He's
He's never getting in the water again.
Well, I never did anyway.
You look so delicious.
Everyone always called the National Guard when I went on there, or Coast Guard. Sorry, they're like, we got a beached whale. But it's just reminds me of the Call of Cthulhu. All those tentacled, and I'm like, I don't want none of that.
Because we see they can camouflage too quite easily,
Like an
squids,
octopus.
exactly, and then camouflage the craft. It's just the evolved form of that. Like if we're evolved from monkeys, then like the evolved form of a squid or octopus is not that far fetched.